Hello there, for tuning to the Tuning Army. On the game Teens Awesome, and welcome to the 39 Steps. Now, this is as it says right over here, a digital adaptation of the book. Now, I myself have never read the book, so I have no idea whether or not this is a accurate description of the book or not. Right, with no. Oh, I can do no dialect. Oh, I'll have the dialect in there. They were saying with the subtitles. Now, the other thing I said to mention is I have no idea how long the book is, so. And this is a visual novel, by the way, and if you already know pretty well about from my Necropara playthrough around the third part, I actually legitimately left the room. Like, legitimately left the room, and no, I'm not getting a DLC to either of them. For obvious reasons. And where's it gonna? My name there. It's kind of odd how they put that for the R. The old dialect. Anyway. We'll take him out clockwise to advance attack. Anti-clockwise makes it go back. Interesting of attack, you see a diamond, simply left click anywhere. Right. Click him as zoom, okay. Alright. Oh, graduate. Alright. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so there's 19. How I'm gonna actually do this is, I'm gonna actually have, like, each, part of this, an event. In a sense, basically, each part of this is going to be essentially a part of the book. There's 19, so this might be like 19 parts. So, here's the first one. Long Ditch. Richard Hannay is living in London with the yearns for a more interesting life. I returned from the city on that May afternoon, pretty well discussed life. I've been there 3 months in the old country and was fed up with it.
Richard Hannay, you have got into the wrong ditch, my friend, and you had better climb out.
A lot of imperial ladies asked me to tea to meet schoolmasters from New Zealand and editors from Vancouver, and that was the most dismal business of all. I had no real power to go about with, which probably explains things. Plenty of people invited me to their houses, but they didn't seem much interested in me. I counted on stopping in London for the rest of my days, but from the first I was disappointed with it. I was the best boy man in England. My father had brought me out from Scotland, South Africa at the age of 6. I had never been home since. I grew up in the Cape Colony, which was then under British rule. My final years in Africa were in the municipality of Bulawayo, where I fought during the Montevideo War. I resided once again with my father, who had taken ill. After he died, I decided to leave the Cape and head back to the old country. I spent much of my time by the Zambezi, where I would fish. There are several hundred species in its waters, including the infinite tiger fish and the Zambezi shark. The wide open spaces of the bow also interested me greatly, and the various methods of survival in such an uncompromising landscape. I served the British forces during the Montevideo conflict and was decorated for my role. I served 2 years with the Imperial Lighthouse and was an intelligence officer at Delagoa Bay in the Second World War. I lost many friends during those wars. I served my pile, not one of the big ones, but good enough for me. I had put in 3 years prospecting for copper in the German Dammerland and spoke the German tongue pretty fluently. I went on to becoming a mining engineer in Kimberley, where I was instrumental to the formation of De Beers Consolidated Mines. The diamond mines were a rough business, with countless good men lost in horrific accidents. Here I was, 37 years old, sound in wind and limb, with enough money to have a good time, yawning my head off all day. I had a long drink and read the evening papers. There were 4 of the war in the Near East, and there was an article about Polyguys, the Greek premier. From all accounts, he seemed the big From all accounts, he seemed the one big man in the cell, and he played a straight game too, with more than could be said for most of them. Someone had loaded the cylindrical player. I felt a deep nostalgia for my homeland of Scotland, as Annie Laura filled the room. About 6 o'clock, I went home. My flat was the first floor, and a new block behind Legcombe Place. There was no restaurant or anything of that sort, and each flat was quite set off from the others.
Paddock? That's me home. I'll be heading out for dinner.
I hate servers on the premises, so I had a fellow to look after me who came in by the day. He arrived before 8 o'clock every morning and used to depart at 7 for I never dined at home. That evening I dined at the Cafe Royal and then headed elsewhere for entertainment. On this particular evening, I wandered to Leicester Square, where the most resplendent theaters of various could be found. A show at the Alhambra caught my eye, though one could never be quite sure of the act until it had been seen. The coveted music halls of London were one way of passing the evening away. Artists of all style play a conspicuous part in this week's bill. It was a silly show. I did not stay long. On the way home, I gave half a crown to a beggar because they saw me on. He was a fellow surfer. I made a vow I would give the old country another day to 50 into something. If nothing happened, I would take the next boat for the Cape.
Hey, can I speak to you? May I come in for a minute?
I recognized him as the occupant of a flat on the top floor, with whom I had passed the time of day on the stairs. He was slim, with a short brown beard, and small, glimpsy blue eyes. Tam was pawing at my arm. I mentioned him in. No sooner was he over the threshold than made a dash from a back room, but I used to smoke and wipe my letters. Then he bolted back.
Is the door locked?
He filled himself a sip of whiskey and soda and drank it off in 3 gulps. I sat down in my armchair and lit my pipe. I was pretty certain that I had to deal with a madman.
I'm very sorry. It's a mighty liberty, but you look like the kind of man who would understand. I've had you in my mind all this week when things got troublesome. Say, will you do me a good turn?
I'll listen to you. That's all I'll promise.
Pardon. I'm a bit rattled tonight. You see, I happen at this moment to be dead.
What does it feel like?
A smile flickered over his drawn face.
I'm not mad. Yet. Say, sir, I've been watching you, and I reckon you're a cool customer. I reckon, too, you're an honest man and not afraid of playing a bold hand. I'm gonna confide in you. I need help worse than any man ever needed it. I want to know if I can count you in.
Get on with your yarn and I'll tell you.
On the 15th day of June, Constantine Karolides is coming to this city. The British Foreign Office has taken to having international tea parties, and the biggest of them is due on that date. Now, Karolides is reckoned the principal guest, and if my friends have their way, he will never return to his admiring countrymen.
I sat up for that, for I've been reading about Carolinas that very afternoon.
Well, that's simple enough anyhow. You can warn him and keep him at home.
And play their game. If he does not come, they win, for he's the only man that can straighten out the tangle. And if his government are warned, he won't come, for he does not know how big the stakes will be on June the 15th.
I'm beginning to get interested in the beggar.
What about the British government? They're not going to let their guests be murdered. Tip them the wink, and they'll take extra precautions.
No good. They might stuff your city with plainclothes detectives and double the police, and Constantine would still be a doomed man. He'll be murdered by an Austrian, and there'll be plenty of evidence to show the connivance of the big folk in Vienna and Berlin. It will all be an infernal lie, of course, but the case will look black enough to the world. But it's not going to come off if there's a certain man alive right here in London on the 15th day of June. And that man is going to be your servant, Franklin P. Scudder.
I was getting to like the little chap. His jaw set like a rat trap, and there was a fire of battle in his glinty eyes.
Where did you find out this story?
I completed my evidence 10 days ago in Paris. I can't tell you the details now, for it's something of a history. But when I was quite sure in my own mind, I judged it my business to disappear. And I reached this city by a mighty queer circuit. Till yesterday, I thought I had muddied my trail some, and was feeling pretty happy. Then...
The recollection seemed to upset him, and he gulped down some more whiskey.
Then I saw a man standing in the street outside this block. I used to stay close in my room all day, and only slip out after dark for an hour or two. I watched him for a bit from my window, and I thought I recognized him. He came in and spoke to the porter. When I came back from my walk last night, I found a card in my letterbox. It bore the name of the man I want least to meet on God's earth.
I think that the look in my companion's eyes, the seal naked scared on its face, completed my conviction of its honesty.
What did you do next?
I realized I was bottled as sure as a pickled herring, and that there was only one way out. I had to die. If my pursuers knew I was dead, they would go to sleep again.
How did you manage it?
I told the man who balloted me that I was feeling pretty bad and got myself up to look like death. I found it difficult, for I know slights at disguises. Then I got a corpse. You can always get a body in London if you know where to go for it. I sit back in the trunk of a top of a four-wheeler, and then I had to be assisted upstairs to my room. I had the pile of evidence for the inquest, so I went to bed and got my man to mix me up a sleeping draught, told him to clear out. One, to fetch me a doctor, but I forced him and said I couldn't abide leases. When I was left alone, I started to fake up that corpse with my size, and I just used pills from too much alcohol to put some spirits about the place. The jaw was the weak point in the likeness, so I blew it away with a revolver. I dare say there would be somebody to feel happy here at the start, but there are no needles on my foot, and I guess I could risk it. I left the body in the bed, dressed up in my pajamas with the revolver laying on the bedclothes, and considerable mess around. Got into a suit of clothes I kept waiting for in Mercedes. Dare say for fear of leaving tracks, and besides, it wasn't any kind of use my trying to get into the streets.
I had you in my mind all day, and there seemed nothing to do but to make an appeal to you. I watched from my window till I saw you come home, and then slipped down the stair to meet you.
He sank weakly like an owl, fluttering with nerves and desperately determined.
There, sir. I guess you know about as much as me of this business.
I was now pretty well convinced that he was going straight with me. It was a wilder sort of narrative, but I have heard in my time many sea tales, but it turned out to be true. And if he had wanted to get a location in my flat and then cut my throat, he would never pitched me a mile to yarn.
Hand me your key, and I'll take a look at the corpse. Excuse my caution, but I'm bound to verify a bit if I can.
I reckoned you'd ask for that. But I haven't got it. It's on my chain on the dressing table. I had to leave it behind, for I couldn't leave any clues to breed suspicions. The gentry who are after me are pretty bright-eyed citizens. You'll have to take me on trust for the night, and tomorrow you'll get the proof of the corpse business right enough.
I thought for an instant or two.
Right. I'll trust you for the night. I'll lock you into this room and keep the key. Just one word, Mr. Scudder. I believe you're straight. But if so be you are not, I should warn you that I'm a handy man with a gun.
I haven't the privilege of your name, sir, but let me tell you that you're a true gentleman. Now, I'll thank you to lend me a razor.
I took him into my bedroom and turned him loose. In half an hour time, a figure came out that I scarcely recognized.
My hat, Mr. Scudder.
Only his glimpsy, hungry eyes were the same. He was the very model, even to the brown complexion, of some British officer who had a long spell in India. He was shaved clean, his hair was parted in the middle, and he has cut his eyebrows.
Not Mr. Scudder. Captain Theophilus Digby of the 40th Gurkhas, presently home on leave. I'll thank you to remember that, sir.
I made him up a bed in the smoking room and stopped my own couch, more cheerful than I have been for the past month. Things did happen occasionally, even in this god-forgotten metropolis.